the woman was ready to say, no, and then she's like, okay, and she put it in a bin right away to be taken off.
Yes,
and I'm like, okay.
The thing already is,
it showed up like
it showed up like really quick within like 2-3 days. Yeah.
There's a lot more.
You just drop it in the mail.
Yeah. I sent them on Friday, got them on Tuesday. Business days.
Yep. So we here till 6 today?
I don't know, we'll see, yo. No slave tomorrow, so. Thank you, Jesus. Let us rise and do the prayer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus, man. No ship tomorrow. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet. Noble Drew Ali. Islam. Al-Shaykh. To be proclaimed in every meeting, I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your cards are for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their cardon button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Drew Ali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam. This is the instruction from your prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest. The ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Juali. Islam. So today, we're going to deal with the principle of peace from Morihei Yeshiva. And then born 1883. Right. And then Juali is 1886. And then the only book he wrote, but one of the most read books, is The Art of Peace. And then peace being one of our principles, and this this cord that connects all the things, like Juali didn't say just him the prophet, he said other people too. He didn't just say Holy Quran, he said other books too. So he's making sure that the Moors are clear that this isn't just limited to temple is the building and all that. There's a way broader perspective. The other part of it is everybody is well familiar with the alternative, the art of war. So now, if we've and only if you're in martial art world would this even come up, because Morihei is the Aikido founder. Right, so this is not just some guy this is the founder of it that's putting this perspective out, knowing what it is that he knew. Morihei Yeshiva was history's greatest martial artist. Even as an old man of 80, he could disarm any foe, down any number of attackers, and pin an opponent with a single finger. Although invincible as a warrior, Morihei was above all a man of peace who detested fighting, war, and any kind of violence. His way was Aikido, which can be translated as the art of peace. Right? The art of peace. And again, we're going back to this being our principle. So where does this now place the art of war? Because if he can pin down somebody with a finger or whatever, then he knows about war. He's trained on the level to say he's master. If you put him on the battlefield, he's leaving the battlefield. You're not going to be one of the people laying down out there. Right? Unlike the authors of such warrior classics as The Art of War and The Book of Five Rings, which accept the inevitability of war and emphasize cunning strategy as a means of victory, Morihei understood that continued fighting with others, with ourselves, and with the environment will ruin the earth. Quote, The world will continue to change dramatically, but fighting and war can destroy us utterly. What we need now are techniques of harmony, not those of contention. The art of peace is required, not the art of war. The art of peace is required, not the art of war. So there's gonna be some passages that we go through, and then we would just we'll have today as interactive that, you know, whatever passages we read, people could just give their what they get out of it, right? Because we're also going back to that theme that you know, being peace is what's being spoken about, and then the 5 principles being peace. We're always looking at man with love as the thought, right? Truth, peace, freedom, justice, right? So we're always looking at everything that we realize that people always have here has to go the other way before here, even though it appears that we're getting it here first, but it's the real first reality is you internalizing what it is that you got from here, and then based on what turns here, what you put out is really what it is, right? But we're just gonna go through to Finding of the Third Eye, Vera Stanley Alder. The Finding of the Third Eye, Vera Stanley Alder. Chapter 16, History of the Wisdom. We find also that a realization and consciousness of the inner realities was the prerogative of ancient man all over the world, even if he lived as a barbarian. He did not need to believe in an afterlife and a world of spirits. He knew. He saw ghosts and he understood their difference from spirits. He communed with his dead. He knew of the nature spirits who ruled the elements. He understood their qualities, colors, and their prototypes among the animals. He used animal effigies to represent them. The Zuni Indians, Z-U-N-I, prayed to 7 great nature gods by means of the 7 colors painted on their prayer sticks. The Tibetans also pray in accordance with colors and design different colored masks embellished with a large third eye for their devil dances. In New Guinea, the doctors paint their patients with the colors of the particular spirits needed to effect a cure. The early Britons painted themselves with the colors needed to stimulate their prowess. The color of the spirit of darkness was usually black of light, white. The color of the spirit of darkness was usually black, of light white, of water and vegetation green, of air blue, and of fire red. There was always the one great spirit over all whose color was golden. Right? So there always has to be realization of the internal understanding. So when we go through all this stuff here today, and we would say take this up as just like how they play with Art of War and all that. Same thing with this. Read this back to front and take your notes and all that stuff relative to this too. All right, so Art of Peace. The art of peace is medicine for a sick world. And then again, oh yeah, and also too, for all the people, all the chat people, you could also do the same thing in the chat. Just, you know, put your perspective of whatever it is you get from it. Don't worry, people could read it later. You just put that stuff there, and then that'll detract the people who are on there trying to think that they could do something. And then people here, whatever it is that, you know what I mean, is revealed to you from these readings, just put those up. The art of peace is medicine for a sick world. We want to cure the world of the sickness of violence, malcontent, and discord. This is the way of harmony. There is evil and disorder in the world because people have forgotten that all things emanate from one source. Return to that source and leave behind all self-centered thoughts, petty desires, and anger. Those who are possessed by nothing possess everything. Those who are possessed by nothing possess everything. The art of peace is medicine for a sick world. We want to cure the world of the sickness of violence, malcontent, and discord. This is the way of harmony. There is evil and disorder in the world because people have forgotten that all things emanate from one source. Return to the source and leave behind all self-centered thoughts, petty desires, and anger. Those who are possessed by nothing possess everything. So we'll just open up the floor. Anybody has?
Possess everything. You have every reason to keep getting mad, disease, possess. You know, that's what I get from it.
Those that possess. He says those that possess.
Those that possess, those that are possessed, those who are possessed by nothing possess everything.
I think it mentions to the freedom that the lack of holding on to things and needing to be controlled by what you have or what you own can give you a more free expression because it gives you the ability to move about, to experience more than just limiting yourself to something that's going to eventually just hold you down.
Right. Anybody else?
Yes. I had a conversation about a week ago about the people in the room and how everyone has their own, everyone's world is different. So my world is different from his world. So in this room, there are different worlds within the world.
Right.
So in the sense of we all need to cure ourselves individually in order for the world to be cured in its entirety.
In its entirety. Exactly. And then also, with regard to things like making reference to the sick world, but also making reference to possession. So that, you know, some of these things that might be happening that the world is looking at as this level might be from other dimensions affecting them, right? The sickness of the world, those who are possessed by what? Possessed by self-centered thoughts, possessed by petty desires, possessed by anger, possessed by fear, possessed by all these things that once they look within, you overcome. Because those things that possess them don't come from within. Those are external things that you know, illusions that they're caught up in, thinking that they're realities. Practice the art of peace as an act of faith, a belief in the ultimate power of nonviolence. It is faith in the power of purification and faith in the power of life itself. It is not a type of rigid discipline or empty asceticism. It is a path that follows natural principles, principles that must be applied to daily living. The art of peace should be practiced from the time you rise to greet the morning to the time you retire at night. Practice of the art of peace is an act of faith, a belief in the ultimate power of nonviolence. It is faith in the power of purification and faith in the power of life itself. It is not a type of rigid discipline or empty asceticism. It is a path that follows natural principles, principles that must be applied to daily living. The art of peace should be practiced from the time you rise to greet the morning to the time you retire at night. Anybody ready?
I wanted to comment about from the first book that you read about how we know that it's not even like it said that it's like you don't have to ask nobody. It's like you already know that you are connected with the source. Like you're connected with nature. You're connected with the animals. You're connected with, everything around you if you know how to connect with it. So it's like it's in us. It's just that I think you said something a long time ago that we're in the age of Aquarius, that whatever you're obsessed with or whatever you are on, it's going to be magnified. So if you're on some bullshit, then your bullshit's going to magnify times 10.
Yeah.
And if you're on the knowledge, then your knowledge is going to magnify times whatever. So, like, you see a lot of people, like, you just don't understand why they can't get it, but it's pretty simple. But it's just that their ignorance is magnified by who knows by how much.
For real.
Because that's
by this time, by this time, for sure.
So it's like, you just gotta keep it moving.
Yeah. Which again goes down to that was good little segue as far as everybody doing their part.
Yeah.
So we want to give a shout out to House of Tunes, Brother Mathino, for being present, having his own stuff to do in Canaanland. Just his videographer, that's just what he does, gets hired to do stuff. But, we come from the school that can't come to Canaanland and not check the Mars. That's just what it is. But regardless of who they are, anybody who knows Canaanland Mars that's not from here, they check here. They check in every time. Before they go do whatever it is that they're doing, they make sure they check in. All right, so we just want to send a big shout out to House of Tunes. And if you haven't, make sure you go to the YouTube page and stay updated because we have some stuff coming since he was here. We have some stuff on the way.
Let's give him a hand. Sure.
Yeah. People doing the work that they were called to do. Now somebody said, like you said, they know the work that they're here that they're supposed to do, right?
And
yeah, go ahead, Mark.
With that, with funny what you guys said, the last, not funny, but around the last comment you made mention as far as what, you gotta keep it moving. And then that last comment that was made mention in that book, from the time the sun rises and the time that it sets, there's a frame, there's a period that one has to do something. So if you don't have nothing, but you're gonna have everything because you're not gonna be moved by things that have no value, then what you put value onto, your energy, the force that comes out of you, is supposed to be recycled back within that period before the sun comes down or wherever it's decided on the planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's love.
Anyone else for that second one?
Yeah, I think it's good how it mentions that, upon like the rising of the sun, and it's like even how important that is and how beautiful that moment is. It's taken for granted across the board. Like there's no real people that are waking up to greet the sun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially within the mentality of being a peacemaker or being someone of harmony, of working for peace, and to start the day off with a routine of greeting the sun and having a ritual where you're coming up with a way to emphasize that today is the day where from morning to night I'm representing the peacemaker and the peacekeeper, and nothing in my field that represents negativity or is not for my highest love is not going to affect me, and then doing that, you're going to just be also charged by that sun, because doing that in a way to show the sun that you're giving it thanks and respect, as well as it shining light upon you throughout that day, in that honor of the peacemaker. You're going to be like, people are going to feel that energy, and doing that as a routine, like every day, your energy is just going to be growing in connection to that sun energy, and that understanding that we're all connected as one. And sun gives us energy, gives everything light, gives everything energy, and working under that guidance and having that mentality that I'm recognizing from sunset to sunrise, or sunrise to sunset, that I'm in the energy of the peacemaker. It's just a beautiful repetition or form of expression that we can each do each day, and then again to see what type of energy or how the system responds to us in that way, because the system is based on war, divide and conquer through every expression it's doing. And setting that boundary in the spiritual seen and unseen world, it's gonna definitely have ripple effects on how the system sees us.
Now, what's crazy now is Matthew 5:9, that in the studying of the peace principle and all that, just doing research on peace, this came up, right? Matthew 5:9, and you already know. We'll check the records of how many years we've been uploading and stuff like that. We don't quote from the Bible and all that stuff and give all these stuff. It's not, we don't even go there. But because of what was just said, that's why we're going to put this out there. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be the sons of God. Now, this is just something that just came out, just in the study, just this morning. Wrote it down right here when I was doing the research or whatever, right? Peacemaker, metaphysical definition. One who has the ability to say peace to the turbulent waves of thought and make them obey. And you're obey, right? Peace, harmony, and tranquility derive from awareness of Christ consciousness, which again goes back to what brother was saying about knowing, and it's not some permission or whatever. Once you know, then you're gonna act, right? You know how to do videography, then you're gonna get calls, and then that's what you're gonna do. That's just what it is, right? But give thanks for that peacemaker one, just to show that, once we start getting into this information and we're doing it from a place of sincerity, then all the other sincere people or whatever, all that energy is going to be just connected, and there's going to be no imbalance that could throw that off.
And another thing, just to add to that, is like you will easily recognize people like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for you to recognize.
Yeah.
Same energy.
Yeah.
Thing is always connected.
Yeah.
Practice the art of peace. Practice of the art of peace enables you to rise above praise or blame and it frees you from attachment to this and that. Practice of the art of peace enables you to rise above praise or blame, and it frees you from attachment to this and that. Yeah, you just throw about whatever it is. First thoughts. Don't think too much.
They ain't gonna be able to pass on because the doing that you do, the energy from when the sun goes down, you hoping you wake up tomorrow and give your energy once more so the energy can be used. But if you have attachments, you gotta answer to yourself, can I pass on the energy from the attachment that I have? Or it could be used in the same manner, in the same alignment that I did see from receiving the energy. Does this attachment even have energy? If it doesn't, then why do I have an attachment to it?
Mm.
What resonates for me is almost growing into adulthood. Like as a child, being praise and blame, like that's basically some things that govern your life. Like you want to be praised by your parents, or you want to be liked. You don't want to be blamed.
Mm.
But as soon as you go in peace, like the book says, and learn how to be a peaceful person, then at that point you become an adult. A different stage of your life.
Yeah. Anybody else for that one?
What I get from it is that once you have the understanding, you know everything has its purpose. And everything serves its purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So whether negative or positive, you know what it's for. And you can move forward. You can move away from it. Because you understand the purpose of that situation, whether positive or negative.
Right.
Yeah, I want to add too, I think it brings back into the thought of, if you're working with the concept of being a peacemaker, you're really starting to come into an understanding of the disconnection of the need for materialism. And as whereas people, may naturally, want to have things and collect things and attach themselves to material things that in reality we don't need and can put us into debt and truly, even clutter our space, limit us in the form of spiritual hygiene, just in what our attention's focused on. And when we're thinking more about becoming a peacemaker and your role being of service to others opposed to just service of yourself, you're going to be less thinking about, what do I have and what can I keep, and more thinking about what can I let go of, what can I share, what can I, do for the greater good of everybody so that we all can benefit, not just myself benefit.
I also want to add to more on the more on the what do you call it, the esoteric or the esoteric. I believe that's what it's called. But I just noticed on the news or like on social media, I've seen like a lot of people are marching, like thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people are marching for shootings and guns and violence and all this kind of stuff. Which to me, I think it was like students,
Yeah.
like hundreds of thousands,
Yeah.
like hundreds and hundreds of thousands, like
For the school shooting,
whatever. And they had to be heard because hundreds of thousands of people at one time all for the same purpose.
Yeah.
You have to be heard, you have to be seen, and I've never seen that before, I know people are sensitized to violence, and for whatever reason, video games, movies, and and usually, to me, just my belief is that, to me, I think that's a changing of people's mentality towards, like, just being desensitized against violence and war and all this kind of BS stuff. And I think, the time that we're in, I mean, we're going to probably see a lot more of that, where, I mean, maybe I suffer against back.
That's exactly what you're saying. You've never seen it before because we grew up in a different era. If this was like the social media era in the Million Man March time, it would have probably been 2 million men that died. Or however many. You know what I mean? So we don't even understand the era. So all of them are already together online. So all they have to do is just come outside now.
Exactly.
And that's all they did. So that organization was probably done online. Like, so the thing that we don't understand for real, because we didn't grow up in there, they fully understand it because it's their thing. We have to go back and adapt to certain things. They grew up in it, so it's them. Because that movement, it's a youth movement, so now adults have to follow suit. The children are doing it, and adults have to follow suit.
I think the biggest problem with that, though, is it's just, especially with so many false flags that's been happening, all over North America. You know what I mean? It's like there's always a way to try to trigger the population to make something happen. And they've been trying to do this gun control issue for a long time. You know what I mean? And it just seems now that they're starting to use the youth to get the agenda across. And, I'm not saying that, the shootings that could have happened didn't happen at all. Like, I don't know enough of the information, but I do know that the government, it's not within their capacity to fake an event, you know what I mean, and get people to be paid to organize things that are going to get people riled up and, emotionally charged to do something that they're not even truly understanding of the consequence or the reason behind it. It's just, it seems like everybody else is doing it, so let's do it. And this is a problem I see with the protesting, because again, it's like when you're not protesting with knowledge, you're not going in there with your heart, and you truly know what you want to get done as a result. It's just a bunch of people making noise in the street. You know what I mean? There's no real shit. And even though their overall message is gun control, it's just like, whose message is that though? Is it truly the youth's message? And is it truly a paid establishment that is using the youth for that message? And that's where the line gets gray, where it's like, we each can have an opinion on it, but if we're not involved in that grassroots movement, we're truly not going to know how it was formed, why it started, where the money came to get all these people organizing like that, and how it was allowed to blossom in such a way where the media will be all over it. Because there's been other things, like say with during the Wall Street crash, Occupy movement, they were doing a lot of rallies too, and they weren't getting covered. Because again, it was like how it was established. It was more like the people coming in anger, coming together, you know what I mean? And because they couldn't control it, they didn't want people to see it. You know what I mean? They were shutting down their camps, and you know what I mean? Like that wasn't being showed, but even though the information was coming out about it, it gave us a perspective of two different types of rallies, of mass gatherings of people. And today it's like, unless we see the heart, we can see the movement grow and blossom and be a part of it, there's always going to be the question, is this like just, an agenda from some organization that's trying to get something passed as a law or a bill that's going to like truly restrict our quote unquote rights that we have, you know what I mean? And again, it's like, that's where we got to be careful in how we support these things and just jump on the bandwagon of what we're seeing.
Because again, it appears like it's for...
it looks like the youths are joining and the youths are finally, taking notice of what's going on. But
they're taking notice of that status. And then also too, the occult side to that with those mass whatevers,
Energy.
most of the times it's going to be at some type of, you know, quote unquote governmental place where they set that stuff to happen there. You know what I mean? So they have this thing with, you know, Washington, and then, you know, these people who are going there, I'm pretty sure they're the same people online talking about those guys are the Illuminati or whatever. Same place where they're going to go march. They're going onto the pentagram to go march. Right? So, you know, and then you could just go into the works of Dr. Delbert Blair, you know, Phil Valentine, those people going into that realm of, well, you know, what's really happening when all these people put all their energy together, but they're standing on a pentagram. You know, they're standing in front of obelisks. That they don't know that that's their stuff. That, you know, they can manipulate the energies if they really went there with the insight about, yeah, okay, we want to go march something. All right, we're going to go get some black candles and white candles and, you know what I mean, certain color cloths and, you know what I mean, everybody's going to dress certain way or whatever like that. And we're going to take a frequency there and do whatever.
It's even like you were saying with going with the animals that change the sex from using energy to go from a male to a female and going around in a circle and make the energy vibrate. Right. Yeah. We may not necessarily have the same result, but you know, going around in a circle,
something's gonna happen.
They're making something happen.
Something's gonna happen.
Yeah,
right. Something's gonna happen.
We don't have to be just like all marching crazy, like just unified. Yeah. We can be in that moment doing something with meaning, like say like going in a circle. Because I've even been involved in native prayer circles and whatnot downtown. Yeah. You know what I mean? And just you can feel the energy where everybody's coming together and they're doing that motion and walking together, chanting. You know, it has an effect, and the energies are responding to it.
Yeah. Please, boy. Conflict between material and spiritual science creates physical and mental exhaustion. But when matter and spirit are harmonized, all stress and fatigue disappear. Conflict between material and spiritual science creates physical and mental exhaustion. But when matter and spirit are harmonized, all stress and fatigue disappear. The one that and they also emphasize it in here too, that they have conflict between material, written in all caps.
Conflict between material.
Yeah, other stuff's not like that. Yeah, so that when we look at, you know, the physical spiritual battle, you know what I mean, of staying on the course of higher enlightenment and things that are better for humanity and not being self-centered and all that. It's a conflict, which when you talk about the acceleration of the ignorance, like that battle now is a real battle now that they gotta 10 years ago, they might have been able to get around certain things. But it's getting to that level now where the ignorance is, if you're there, that's where you're going to be. There's no getting out of, you know what I mean? Well, I used to, whatever it is, that's what it is. And then you're stuck in that box. Because if the self isn't realizing itself, then the self's going to be locked out. The self's going to be locked out of the shell, and then, like we were saying, anything could come and possess it. Right? Anger could come and possess it. You know, some homoerotic whatever. Then you start liking the stuff that you're hearing on the radio. You don't know why, because why would you even like that stuff? You know what I mean?
That's the sad fact. You don't even know why.
You don't even know why.
Like, you really are.
You know what I mean? Right?
Molly's
and Xanax and whatever. Conflict between material and spiritual science creates physical and mental exhaustion. But when matter and spirit are harmonized, all stress and fatigue disappear. Any thoughts that one. If not, we could move on.
Just repeat that last one.
Conflict between material and spiritual science creates physical and mental exhaustion. But when matter and spirit are harmonized, all stress and fatigue disappear.
It's like coming into balance with the body, like mind, body, and soul kind of thing.
Mhm.
I mean, just giving that thought of like when you got your mind, your heart, and your soul like centered in balance, like you're truly expressing that kind of mind over matter consciousness.
Right. Yeah. I was also thinking about the other one too, with the possessing, that once you're aligned, then the demons of the stress and fatigue and all these other things are easier to deal with. You might not be able to cancel them completely, but at least you would know, when it's presenting itself, how to deal with it. If you should deal with it on your own, maybe you need to get with some other people and do some rituals to deal with certain things, right? Any more on that?
You know their purpose. And once you see what the matter is, see what the issue is, see what is the substance, how to maneuver. Is it worth even approaching, walking around, or even if it's actually something. And once you know your purpose, you know that, as you said, the other spirits that are out there to swerve you off your course, you know how to take your stance and try.
I just want to throw onto that too. It's like sometimes we can believe that we're walking a path and that path is just one and you can get pushed off in this way or this way because of all these things. But the way I see it is like even when we get tempted and we get thrown off what we think is the path, we're still on the path, because even when we veer, we're always going to be going in the direction we need to go. It doesn't matter what the life circumstance is challenging us at that time.
Yeah.
And even when we feel we fell off the path, we needed that fall to bump our head to have that realization on how not to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So even when we're getting down, it's about being confident even when you feel you're off the path, knowing that I may have taken a detour, but even though I'm taking the scenic route, I'm still going to get to my destination. It just may take me a little bit longer.
Yeah. It's like saying there's no, when people say there's an accident, there's no such thing as an accident. Right?
Oops.
It's just meant to happen. Like, it's not a coincidence where it just happened by chance. Things coincide. Things meet at a certain juncture and meet each other parallel, and face each other, but there's no coincidence. But the things do coincide. So, like you're saying, that fall is still part of the journey that you're supposed to be on, or else it wouldn't have happened. Yeah. And no matter where you go to, it's all relevant, and you have to take it. Enough people are afraid of that dark side, or the side, the lower self side, or the things that are carnal, or the things you fall victim to. But you know how to embrace it, understand why it's going on, understand why it's going on, understand why it's going on. Look at it as a challenge.
After all, they say we're in school.
Overcome easier.
School of life.
It's all relevant. Yeah. To soak in everything. And like when you talked about earlier about the positive and negative, like our concept growing up of positive and negative is equated with good and evil, But it doesn't really have anything to do with that, because go hand in hand.
It's all relative.
Yeah, right.
That which is divine.
One can't go without the other.
Yeah.
One is just as important as the next for the work that needs to get done.
The next one, just right in line with that. The art of peace functions everywhere on earth. in realms ranging from the vastness of space down to the tiniest plants and animals. The life force is all pervasive, and its strength is boundless. The art of peace allows us to perceive and tap into that tremendous reserve of universal energy. The art of peace functions everywhere on Earth, in realms ranging from the vastness of space down to the tiniest plants and animals. The life force is all pervasive, and its strength boundless. The art of peace allows us to perceive and tap into that tremendous reserve of universal energy.
What was that term you said, and then the metaphysical definition?
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker. And what was the definition again?
One who has the ability to say peace to the turbulent waves of thought and make them obey. Big time. 8 forces sustain creation. 8 forces sustain creation. Movement and stillness, solidification and fluidity, extension and contraction, unification and division. 8 forces sustain creation. Movement and stillness, solidification and fluidity, extension and contraction, unification and division.
All that is a positive, negative charge right there.
Right there, yeah.
It's determining it different. It's
Yeah.
all it's all movement and stagnation.
Yeah.
Because when something is moving extremely fast, it looks to be standing
Still. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
opposite ends of the poles or a spectrum. 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
A lot of talk about being stoic in this book.
There's there's so much like themes throughout it. Like, trust me, put it out there to make sure you get the art of peace, because it puts things in a different perspective to assist with the becoming more into ourselves. You know what I mean? Realizing that, we really are one with everything or whatever. You know what I mean? Recognizing that, that's, another being that's sharing this space with us. Both. If we stop growing technically and spiritually, we are as good as dead. The art of peace is a celebration of the bonding of heaven, earth, and humankind. It is all that is true, good, and beautiful. Life is growth. If we stop growing technically and spiritually, we are as good as dead. The art of peace is a celebration of the bonding of heaven, earth, and humankind. It is all that is true, good, and beautiful. Want to put this out there. What different examples or perspectives could we look at growing from?
Say change. I've always said. I actually said that, but I would say change. To not change is to be dead.
Right.
Because change is growth. Everything that's alive is constantly changing.
Constantly changing. Right.
And I think with our people, that's the one thing we fear the most is change.
Yeah.
Like, our people, we're just stuck with what's been passed down to us. Like, we cherish that to the utmost. Like most people, our people know that their surnames are slave names. And they know that, and they'll accept that, but they still cherish it. Like, they cherish their surname. Like, they cherish that. Like,
yeah.
Like, it's a bad word if you try to say You know, if you try to slay me too much, it's like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I know, but like, you know, I still love it. It's not to make fun, but it's just like, I just don't.
Make fun. Just your brain a little bit dead. Conformity.
It's like the tradition aspect of it. Like even knowing that it's wrong, it's like, well, it's in a tradition, my family, you know, nobody else wants it. My parents didn't change it, so what's the? They don't understand like truly how detrimental it is to them within the system, because the way the system operates is to feed on these people that are chattel property, that are, you know, wards of the state, that are colored persons, you know. And again, it's like even with what the government's doing with bringing Syrian refugees here, giving them a Canadian citizenship, making them Canadians. It's the same thing. It's
giving them coats and jackets and stuff.
More is their awakening up.
I've seen that
they
going on
want to shut up people.
Yeah, they want to bring more.
More is their awakening up to the Canadians.
You know, and it confuses them because now they think they have some sort of land claim to Canada. They're nationals here because they were nationals over here, but they don't understand that being a Canadian citizen is on the water, has nothing to do with them.
There's no time for them to know. Because look, you see how they do it? Create war and chaos. We have time to know where we're going. Canada here I come. They go. They don't even know where they're going, but they say it's Canada. And we create the team over there too.
Even with the whole concept of the refugee, you know, like I have a friend that's trying to help some refugees in different countries and bring them to Canada, and I'm trying to explain it's like these people, even with the status of refugee, they're not accepting their nationality. They're actually going against their nationality, becoming a stateless person, and then being left victim to the system. That's going to put them somewhere. Every nation says we're not taking refugees, we'll take nationals, but we're not taking refugees. You know what I mean? There's like 1% of all nations that will actually accept refugees. And
exactly. Why you not helping them?
We don't want the refugees.
And it's like realistically, the people that are calling themselves refugees also understand that they're men and women, but because they're trained to use a classification or a status that takes them out of the human family, and then lets them be subject and to like persecuted and treated like belittled, and they're trying to figure out like, yo, my country got destroyed. I'm trying to figure out how like I can get safe passage and a nation to like help me out, and no nation that apparently is supposed to be there to help us out wants to help us out. But why is it? You know what I mean? It's because of the status. You know, the status that they're doing, it's about making money off the people, how much they're going to be able to pay to push them to wherever the country is going to get a kickback to lodge them or whatever through their birth certificates, get money out of that. But it's like a pecking system. It's like, we're going to take you, and, you know, if the government doesn't want to take them, then we can't do anything. And then there's like a whole millions of people just left like in tents, like outside of cities, like in camps that, you know, don't know that, oh, if I just go claim my nationality and try to make the same statements, I may actually get into a country. You know what I mean? But they're gonna accept the fate of being a refugee, have to like deal with the camps, and it's like you can't give them that knowledge. Like it's your status that's messing you up. You're going to get lawyers to help you in a refugee status, and they're messing you up. And nobody in that whole concentration camp is going to try to tell you that you're an Afghani national. Why don't you just claim your stuff? And then come back to the international community and be like, yo, I'm a human being as an Afghan national. I'm being persecuted. I'm being, you know, taken advantage of. My lands are taken away. I need help. You know, you guys got to provide a nation that's going to help me out. And it'll be a completely different conversation to have. You know what I mean? But again, it's the lack of knowledge. These people don't know. You can't teach people anything because, again, they think they're attacking. You're attacking them. You know, it's like, I'm a refugee and, you know, I can't help it. I'm trying to get help, but you're not helping yourself by claiming that status.
Well, it's lack of knowledge. And if I can tie into what he said in Noir, he said the system is set up by people who are conjure that system. It's parasitic. So the parasite needs the host.
Yeah.
Hence your statement of lack of knowledge. They can't afford to give people this information because then the parasite can't be sustained.
Yeah.
Right? So they need the people, like what Noir said, the Moors are waking up. So you have less to feed on because some are waking up. So you need a supplant it. Right? You want to subjugate. Right? So they bring them in so they can feed off of them. It looks good because they came and some hotels were converted to condos for them and they got coats and all that to beat the cold. Right? So it looks all rosy and they get how much, like $5,000 every month or whatever. So
they get hit off crazy.
So
they get hit off crazy.
Way better than the camps that they were in. Right? But like you also said again, they're creating straws out of them and that money, the $5 grand a month is
compared to what
it's coming back to them anyway.
So they're sustaining the parasite. It's a perpetual cycle. So you can go there and try to show them with all that good kickback, you're not saying anything.
You know, it's funny. I watched I don't even remember the movie. I watched a movie, right? And the movie is a Canadian movie too yesterday about two youths growing to school, somewhere in Montreal, and then one of the youths was always getting all the youth in trouble. So the uncle of one of the youths has both of the youths working at the garage, and you realize the youth that's just talking craziness. He's just trying to do everything and show forth everything in his power that he loves being a nigger. His uncle was like, no matter what you do, I see you want a white girl. No matter what you do, you'll never be accepted like that. And he tells a story. He says there's two men that came from a country, and they said they're going to become Canadian, and they made a bet. They said after 1 year, you come on back, and we're going to talk about how much Canadians we are. And then the brothers, they come back, and then one brother says, I am Canadian, eh? I wake up in the morning, I go to work, I walk my dog, and every morning when I go to work, I get Tim Hortons. I'm Canadian.
Do what the Canadians do.
And then the brother says, F you packy. Word for word, right? So everybody's trying to be this illusion, you know. At the end of the day, they don't even want to acknowledge that which they are. You know?
I mean, it's when was it? I think it was last. When was it? No, we went to the store. Wednesday, Thursday. We went to a store, and Steak, I think, and it was a same thing like a Paki or Indian. It's an Indian. So we're talking. We have issues too with our cards too. So we have to get the manager. But the manager, he understood. Yeah, he's understanding. But the counter boy there now. I'm telling him, bro, where you say you're from again? I'm from India. Yeah, but remember, they said I'm West Indian. Do I look like him? An Indian like Indian? Indian. If we're West Indian in the islands, why? And we don't look like you. How come you're Indian? I think you're Hindustan. No, I'm not Hindustan. I'm Indian. I could have believed it. Running the store.
Running from the Hindustan.
He doesn't know the history.
Yeah.
Saying no, and he's upset that I'm calling him Hindustan. That goes back to what we were saying on last.
Let's have a question.
Oh, question.
Sure.
What's a Sarkissan?
Saracen?
Saracen, yeah.
Saracen head?
Yeah, what is that?
Saracen head?
Like, it's a guy, he's a Moor. He looks like a Moor.
Well, head of the Saracen.
Right.
Oh, really?
So, Saracen.
Alright, get on up there, Omar.
Yeah.
Oh,
Omar.
You
I'm
tasted that fish already. Tasted that fish, you know. And he's like, Omar getting none of this. So, this is what she's talking about.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah, right there.
So the head of the Saracen is the ruler.
Yeah,
the Sultan.
what is that?
So,
Because remember I was talking to you about the whole Mississauga thing.
Yeah.
So I found, cause remember that place I tell you I always roam?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I discovered, cause I was looking for the history, I couldn't find it. So I discovered it's an all-white school, allegedly. And it was running during the time when Mississauga was the county of Trafalgar. Yeah. Then I heard about the war. Yeah, Trafalgar.
No, Trafalgar.
I know.
Then I read about the war, but then when I researched the word, it's an ancient Arabic word, like, but it talks about Spain.
Yeah, it's those
And the
Trafalgar.
Moors, because I typed in that and Moors, right?
Yeah,
And it popped up that's their new name.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the sons of Joseph or Abraham, one of Abraham's sons is Ishmaelites or something like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Keep going.
Whatever. So one of his sons who married Sarah. Am I making sense? Is the story adding up? I read so many things. Anyways, he wanted to ensure that he was known as the son who married the free wife, and not the one that married the slave, which I can't remember her name.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I saw the Saracen or whatever. Saracen meant I guess he's free. Right? A free Moor.
You know what? The center.
Trafalgar has something to do with that too, huh?
Well, when I typed in Trafalgar online, like the county of Trafalgar, and then I guess the Canadian indigenous people adopted Mississauga, the name Mississauga.
Right.
When I looked on images, Saracen or whatever popped up. So I'm like, I've never seen that. It was a dark-skinned person's face.
Yeah.
And they have a restaurant somewhere, I guess in America, and in Ontario somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's weird. What does that mean? And he looks like a king. So I started researching it, but I wasn't really sure. Like, it doesn't have to do with Moors.
Yeah, it all goes back to
Then I realized
these people who just were everywhere.
So my question was Nelson Trafalgar, right? He defeated the Spains and the French, I think. Whatever. That's what I read. But he looks like a Caucasian man based on the pictures. So I was confused because of his hairstyle. But then I also found John Hanson.
Yeah.
John Hanson.
Whatever the first president.
Yeah.
And then he was also Caucasian until I found his actual picture. So now I want to know who's Nelson Trafalgar, if it's an Arabic name. And if it's a Moorish.
Exactly. So just like if we say,
I want to see a picture.
just like if we say, these guys, L, whatever, but there's some European stuff.
It's at the front.
But it's L, whatever.
Yeah.
Which we know that has nothing to do with Europeans. So it's all part of, because so-called black people want to be that, then everybody else is just jacking their stuff and doing whatever it is they want to do with it.
Yeah, like the old school
You look
stuff.
like
Jacking for beats.
Or
jacking for beats, but
Yeah.
it's not beats, they're jacking.
Yeah.
You know, yesterday I was watching another film too called Gold. I don't know. Someone told me called Gold, but I seen it said Aura, but they were talking another language subtitles. But it was basically like the Europeans said they go to a certain region and the average of people are there and then they're just killing off the average of the people. But every time they hear like some kind of movement and howling and the dogs start going crazy, they're like, oh damn Saracens. You know, so it was funny. You know, it was funny. But you know, as far as that's intriguing for that Saracen thing still, because I know it means the descendants of Sarah, and I also am aware that many times it was also used as in like oh them Saracens, like in a negative way where the Romans were not liking the Saracens. As far as in like woman of free and woman of bond. If it's the woman of bond, it's the same thing with people, the kind of spirits. The people them know what their duty is, and if they continue knowing their duty and doing their duty, freedom is achievable.
You hear them make reference to it in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah,
The old Euro man
Yeah.
talking to Morgan
The
Freeman.
first one.
Hmm?
The first one. Because
There's only-
they made several.
Huh?
They
There's
made
only one. They all have a different name. That one's called Robin the Prince of Thieves specifically. There's only one title.
But yeah, the recipes and Saracens.
So he mentions it. He goes, screw the Moors and the Saracens and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes, what type of manner of name is
It's,
Hasid
I
or
see.
whatever? Morgan Freeman rolls up to him and goes, Moorish.
It's like,
Yeah, he jumped. Fear struck him.
look that in the
Oh,
face.
it's coming now, but
Look
you
that
realize
in the face.
it's a Moor.
It's
and
a Moor.
Saracen right in front of him.
Yeah.
That movie, classic.
Yeah.
A lot of exposure, expose.
Yeah. This one's for the flat earthers. All things are bound together harmoniously. This is the real law of gravity that keeps the universe intact. All things are bound together harmoniously. This is the real law of gravity that keeps the universe intact.
Sounds like the beginning of the Circle 7 as well.
Yeah, the chapter 1.
Yeah.
Every living thing bound by a cord.
Yeah.
Yep.
On the smallest worm.
Yep.
Mash up the fabric.
Shake the throne of Allah when you step on a ant. Yeah.
But-
no more worms.
Yeah,
Good.
no. It's okay.
Oh, yeah. Throw it out.
No, like
Good
how you
quality.
say about levitation. So it's like I see a lot of images of people cross-legged levitating. You know, they do it as a street act all the
Yeah.
time. But if you come into the knowledge that it is possible, then how? Oh gosh, the bounding, everything being bound.
Yeah.
Is it like once you realize it internally, like mentally,
Yeah.
you'll be.
It starts there.
It's okay.
But it's like levitation is like the guy who's gonna do like this and put his hand through the wall.
Okay.
Because once you once you start from this side, because the issue with us is that we've had so much of out here happen in our life that when we go inside, we still get drawn back out here. Whereas if you start from young, you look at, Shaolin monks or whatever like that, man, just does the finger, not no big deal, because from childhood, this thing's been part of them. So it becomes like what the Quran says, it becomes a part of every part. Even with the Aikido man, you watch some of his videos, you're like, no way this guy backed off 10 guys with his finger. Just
Seagal, David Steven
Yo, just like that. Just like that.
Seagal, man.
That's all, nothing. And then he's doing like this, and dude's like tumbling, going that way. Man's flying back, hitting stuff. It's like, yo, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's possible. But then you have the people with the stick with the thing, and then they stick with it. Those aren't the ones, yeah.
But they were there to remind us that,
Yeah,
it's possible.
it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Reminding us that it's possible.
It's definitely possible.
The church is doing it.
Well, I just want to add to what you said about a lot of these people, persons that are gifted like that, because everybody knows how to play basketball, but not everybody could play NBA. So it's like those people that are gifted, like we all have in us to do certain mystical stuff or magical stuff in our own way, right? but there are some people that are gifted that they can do the extraordinary stuff. And most of those ones they know from when they're a child, or it's been happening from when they're a child. So that's nothing really surprising. It's just that how it is brought out. Is it brought out, or is it or is it kept in? You know what I mean? Or suppressed?
The parents, right?
Yeah, the parents. Yeah.
If they recognize it, that greatness, and nurture it, from a young age, and make it redeem it and make it blossom, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes you need something to spark. You need a catalyst. Need a catalyst, and once it sparks, then it can do what it's supposed to do. But if it doesn't know what it's supposed to do, it could stay dormant for it.
Yeah, the same parents could even shut it down and not realize what they're doing.
Because most children, they always say, "Oh, I have imaginary friends. I see monsters." And we're like, "Oh, there's no such thing as monsters." We're the ones that are shut down their foresights because then they start to say, "Oh well, my parents say not to believe in you," or like so they kind of shut it down.
You're supposed to tell it. You see that monster, kick it.
Don't look at me crazy, but I did it on the steps once.
Yeah, what? Sorry.
Keep the monster. She's saying she. He feels confidence, you know. That's I'm talking on that gift, you know. It's confidence too. A lot of times, the youths might see something they might put value to because of what other youths and peer pressure, and times what they're putting value into, it's dumbing their confidence because what is being spoken about in school is taking them away from them being their true selves because it's not the in thing. You know, what you doing wearing all that stuff, why you talking like that? You're not cool no more. Peer pressure is something. You know?
Tell them not to be, you don't need to be cool, be hot. Flip the script.
Makes sense.
Can't let overpower for real.
Contemplate the workings of this world. Listen to the words of the wise, and take all that is good as your own. With this as your base, open your own door to truth. Do not overlook the truth that is right before you. We probably just talked about that. This one, we're behind one or something. Contemplate the workings of this world. Listen to the words of the wise, and take all that is good as your own. With this as your base, open your own door to truth. Do not overlook the truth that is right before you. Oh yeah, speaking about that, for any Moors out there, we're taking up a little collection for Brother Alim El Bey. We're taking up a little collection for Brother Alim El Bey because we want to donate some funds to him so he can do a class on the origin of this Moor Hayden campaign, right? Because he hasn't addressed anything from anybody since the debate that kicked off this whole thing that people are still talking crazy about Moors. So any Moors out there, whatever it is that you want to donate, Canaanland Guide, or cultural educators at gmail.com. So we can do the live YouTube with Brother Alim, and we could go into, because somebody sent me a video that they're going through all the literature now, going through all the different literature, trying to debunk stuff about Moors or whatever. So we figure that since they shut him down from doing his part 2 of the debate back then, you know what I mean? They didn't have enough time for him to do whatever. And it's 10 years later, pretty sure Alim has some more information that he could put on the record, you know, especially for the people who are coming into this that are distracted by the distractions. And, you know, we look at him as, you know, he was like the ones that were coming up after Taj and these people that we were looking at as, you know, Moors to use as an example. You say, Well, whose book should I buy or whatever? Go buy Liam's book. If you're gonna go buy somebody's book, you want to buy a Moore's book, right? So, and we're looking to do that probably sometime in April. So the last one again, contemplate the workings of this world, listen to the words of the wise, and take all that is good as your own. With this as your base, open your own door to truth. Do not overlook the truth that is right before you. The universe is our greatest teacher, our greatest friend. It is always teaching us the art of peace. Study how water flows in a valley stream, smoothly and freely between the rocks. Everything, mountains, rivers, plants, and trees, should be your teacher. The world's wisdom is contained in books, and by studying the words of the wise, countless new techniques can be created. Study and practice, and then reflect on your progress. The art of peace is the art of learning deeply, the art of knowing oneself. The universe is our greatest teacher, our greatest friend. It is always teaching us the art of peace. Study how water flows in a valley stream, smoothly and freely between the rocks. Everything, mountains, rivers, plants, and trees, should be your teacher. The world's wisdom is contained in books, and by studying the words of the wise, countless new techniques can be created. Study and practice, and then reflect on your progress. The art of peace is the art of learning deeply, the art of knowing oneself. Islam.
What was the first art though? Not the one that you, not the art of you just read, the art like about 30 seconds ago. No, it should be on that. Yeah, maybe
on the same thing.
Like 5 lines, 6 lines out.
The world's wisdom is only art of peace.
The art of
The art of peace is the art of learning deeply, and the art of knowing oneself.
Yeah, the art of knowing oneself. And when I hear art of, I think of articles, so like the condition of knowing yourself. That takes, once that realization is like hits you as an individual, like, it's one thing you could be going to school and being taught about certain subjects, but when you as an individual see and cite it for yourself, and then you know, it's like, oh, now I know why I wasn't getting it before. Because my mind was seeing this but hearing this. Or, yeah.
Any more insight?
I was going to talk about April Fools.
Well, we would talk about April Fools, but it's Easter.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. It's time. All we do that. It's here.
One of the first times.
It is
What?
April 1st, Tuesday.
Yeah.
This year is. So you're a fool.
Yeah,
Right?
You know,
The veil is
everything's being revealed right now. You know what I mean?
The veil is not here.
All the secrets.
But really, it's the day of Ishtar.
There's never been
The day of Ishtar.
I've never seen it like this.
Yeah, this year. With all the alignments.
Yeah.
The celestial stuff that's going on, more is still coming. This year has been the year.
Yeah.
More than any other.
So could we protest next year, like every holiday that comes?
Protest.
Not protest, but like,
Boycott.
I don't know, do something.
Yeah, you're doing something right now.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
one of the teachers, Brother Abdullah Bey, that does the Moors and Masonry. That's his lesson. That don't throw away the stuff. Just recalibrate it or put it back to its proper perspective.
Because a lot of my niggers online are very
Yeah.
like, surprised with my post today.
Oh,
I didn't know that. I was like, yo, that's the history.
Yeah.
So you said it's the day of Ishtar?
Huh?
You told them it's the day of Ishtar?
Huh?
You told them it's the day of Ishtar?
No, I just posted some April Fool's history stuff.
Oh, well, April Fool's, okay, yeah.
That's the first, so I'm like, isn't it April Fool's?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
But you know, it's funny because I know fool just means one that don't know. So when it's, well, I can see why people get offended if it's used outside of its proper context. But who mean one that don't know? So you ain't know that.
He could know.
Even,
if he's a court jester, he could know, but just playing a fool, right?
But isn't the history
trying to catch you white? Trying to catch you white.
The whole concept of the April Fools was like making a fool out of the Moors by like, you know, destroying their own territory and saying that, oh, we got boats for you waiting over here, and then burning the boats and fucking up old lands for them, leaving them stuck in the middle, like, haha.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like that way, like the way they're labeling it is just like, oh, it's just whatever, but really it was an attempt at like destroying their heritage in two places, like saying you can't be here and you can't go here. What are you gonna do now? You gotta like the joke's on you. You
gotta levitate.
Right across the waters.
But they killed all the women, the children, and the men after all of that. Because they were left without a home because they burnt it. Their ships were burnt, so they just murdered them. It's funny now. Really, that's what happened. That was so sad. So I'm like, I thought we were gonna talk about that today.
Yeah, no, I mean those are things like that. Is like people's, you know, you go do your own stuff, see what you find, and then you come up do something like April Fools. Yeah,
I think I want to still on this though, but I think the way we're dealing with this talk, especially with everything that's going on with this weekend, and you know, especially this day, I think it's a good idea to talk about the concept of the peacemaker, and you even talking about the art of peace, because even with the, you know, thinking of the past and the concept of that April original Fool's joke or whatever, you know, it can bring in a lot of anger. It can bring in a lot of hate towards, you know, what was done to our people in the past. You know what I mean? And I think we need to be humble. We need to be, you know, emanating an energy of forgiveness and peace to, you know, not only to correct the mistakes of that past, but not to make sure those mistakes don't continue in the future. You know, and you know, as we come into this national and divine side of the movement, you know, it's also stepping into the concept of peace, where we as Moors are honoring the aspect that we truly did represent in our original heritage, where, you know, we were about bringing people together. We were, you know, traders. We were, you know, explorers, you know, and we weren't necessarily just going everywhere trying to conquer everything and controlling everything. You know, we were peacemakers as well. You know what I mean? And I think it's important to, you know, get back into that concept of, you know, we've been at war too long. You know, the world has been at war for too long, too many generations, and we need to bring back that energy and that mindset of the peacemaker and the peacekeeper.
But the only way to kind of give the other spectrum, which all ties into the whole concept of today, is, yeah, you can give that caution, but remember again, the school of life. The individual has to go through those emotions. Majority will feel the pains of that negative atrocity that our ancestors faced, but it has to happen. Then you can come in and speak on that, and that will, if it's meant to be, or there's whatever time frame they're supposed to grieve for or feel that anger, then they'll get that concept. But you can't skip. You can't skip that.
The process.
The process has to happen.
Because the lesson is in every emotion.
Yeah.
Depression. Once you get out of it, depression, what did you learn while you were there?
While you were depressed.
If you missed the lesson, you go back into a depressive state to learn the lesson again.
That's why they say history repeats itself, because if you don't know, you're bound to repeat it or end up in the same situation. Right? So you have to know the atrocities to know, if you will, the errors that were made, so we don't go through it.
Life is within death. Death is within life. You must exist right here, right now. Death is within, life is within death, death is within life. You must exist right here, right now.
Oh, the topic that was just happening. Just led into that.
Yeah.
Make the most of your moments, you know?
Well, you have to kill the whatever vice or piece of you that isn't
in harmony. Yeah.
So
once
part
it's
of
out
it
of
has to
harmony,
die.
yeah. That's the part.
What's the part?
Yeah, the part that's not in harmony. Once it's not in harmony with self, then that's what you have to be putting your attention on getting rid of, not the, you know how to be happy. Well, okay, so leave that. Focus on the anger. You know what I mean? If you conquered the happy, don't dwell happy and have the anger just run amok in your life because you don't want to deal with it until it presents itself. Now you're trying to deal with it, right?
It's like the Dr. Banner from Hulk.
Yeah.
So when he revealed his secret is that he's always angry. And that's how he remains in.
We're staying within because you have to know what it is. You have to know your higher self, but you also have to know your lower self. You know what I mean? Like you have to actually study the lower self. What stimulates that? What makes that go off the handle? You know, so you can circle those passions and keep them in bounds of things that are righteous and good and right and whatever. You know, even the negative things.
Great segue for Hulk Smash.
Yeah. Hulk Smash every day.
Well, so I want to add.
I'm not angry.
That our people, mainly, like it's a lot of it's everybody, but mainly our people is like they just can't see that. They can't see that what they're doing. They can't see the wrong in it. Or they can't see. I don't know. It's like they just can't see the logic of. Though it's an error, or I guess if they don't see something's wrong with it, then they're not going to think of it as wrong. They're not going to think of it as bad. They're going to think of it as, it is what it is, and you just have to just deal with it.
Yeah, and that might be the path. That might be their lesson. Because that is what it is. I have to do it. All right, then,
Yeah, I think that goes back to what you were saying before, is a conformity, right? Like they're comfortable with that. They don't see any route about it. And then when it happens again, that's when they're down.
No, like subconsciously they know there's something messed up because they all know something's messed up. Like, I mean, the youths that were still getting shot down in the streets. The guy's probably gonna get off. Marching again, all this kind of stuff. It's just a pattern. It's gonna die down until the next one comes out.
But they don't look at it as messed up. So they keep going on the same trend. They don't.
That's what I'm saying. They don't see it as messed up. They see it as progression somehow. Like, how do you see that as progression?
No, it become normal.
So when I'm seeing, if you don't see something as being stagnant, then there's nothing nobody can tell you or show you to make it the facts. Even the facts they're going to see as that's just some kind of conspiracy or theory, or that's just some more stuff. That's just some, that's.
But this all I see a link with everything we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So with that is conformity, which is normal and is expected for white people to be racist or hateful and killing black people. Right? So yeah, it's happened right then and there. The emotions are gonna arise. But after a few days or whatever, they always do that. It's normal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you come in now saying, no, well, you can actually try these or that and it might work or it will work. Who are you? You're just like me. What are you talking about? Because you're going against the grain. And to come out of that box is too much for them because of lack of knowledge and responsibility, which ties into the book again, accepting your role of being able to change. And they don't want to change.
Right. They want to stick in
So
that.
it's just
They want everybody else to change. They want
Right, them to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want the colonizers
Mhm.
to one day wake up and say, okay, yes, we're wrong. Yes, we did this.
They're not
Yes,
gonna
you are
believe
the
them
real
either.
people of the land.
No. They're
No,
not
that's
gonna
what they
even believe
want.
them. No, they don't want it. They're not gonna believe them. They're gonna say, "Word, you, after so long, I don't believe you now." No, they're not gonna believe them either. I'm telling you, man. They're not even gonna wanna
Well,
believe
they
that.
do it in the movies, yeah. And then when you show them, like, well, it's a movie,
Yeah,
right?
See?
You can
They don't
bring out
believe it.
another
It's
document
in the movie
to
now.
show them what they're saying in the movie.
Yeah.
No,
Right here,
it's just
no.
movie.
What is
See?
that? Come on, you're a conspiracy, right?
Exactly.
I just want to add on to
Yeah, but
I think the level of people's awareness is also equated to the responsibility they have. And some people, they can see, taking on the system as a responsibility they don't want to be a part of. They don't want to go against the system. They'd rather, take the roll the dice and maybe get shot on drive like a side stop at the road or whatever with the cop than doing something like studying yourself or learning about this type of information. And as you actually understand that there's something wrong with the system, there's got to be something that we can do about it, and you grow your awareness, you actually are expanding your responsibility because you want to do something about it. And it's like that drive to want to make a change, to make the world a better place is what's growing people's awareness and also growing their level of responsibility to that cause. It's like recognizing that the Moorish movement is about uplifting fallen humanity. As you become more and more aware and in tune with that, like through your mind, body, and soul, it's like your level of responsibility to that also increases. And a lot of people, they don't want to accept that type of responsibility of not only making sure I can eat, but making sure my family, my neighbors, the community can eat as well. Right. And most people, they're just too busy wanting to take care of their own. They don't want to look outside, and see that, we all got to make it together or we're all going to fail together. And it's like, literally, when it comes to nationality, the human race, it's like we all fail together or we all make it together. And it's just like, we've been in a situation where we've been in darkness for so long. It's like for us to rise, it's like some of the planets like, what took you so long? And then a lot of the people are like, how can we make other people go back to sleep to get that balance back where we got the power? You know what I mean? And it's like that level of responsibility. They're making the world so easy for everybody to depend on the system that where nobody wants to read a book anymore. Nobody wants to study because they can just go to the internet and get information where they don't know if it's legit as it was originally written from the book or if it's been changed. And it's just like the more and more we're dependent on the system, the less responsibility we actually have to our own reality.
So then what is the remedy?
Knowledge of self.
And you said all of that
but the
your
remedy
course
for each one of us, again, it's like as we become knowledgeable of what is going on in the system and realizing that this whole movement is about uplifting our fellow humanity. It's like, but how can we work together to make the world a better place? It's not my responsibility to make the better.
But it starts individually.
That's why
it does. We have to recognize how we can make ourselves better to be a part of that change that we want to see through acting in that process. That's why we're all here.
Yeah, well,
what I heard?
That's us now. That's us. Don't veer off the topic. It's more like
that's what God was saying when you're talking about worlds, right?
Yeah.
Each of us are in our own world, but
Yeah.
a bigger world, utopia, and then once we fix our individual world, the bigger one will fix itself.
Yeah. Because what I'm hearing, and this is my world, my perception, the word responsible is to be response. It's a reaction, right? So you have to first accept the fact and the reality that you have to change you. Because while what you're saying is true, but there is some of us, some Moors, who have quote unquote knowledge of self, but they're not responsive. They're not doing. They're not active, as we like to say, right? Because you can acquire the knowledge, but there comes a point where you have to, and I also heard fear from what you were saying as well. You have to overcome the fear and just grind.
Yeah, but the awareness that comes with the knowledge, like we can read something in a book and say, yeah, I know what the book said, but not truly understand
until
what it
you do.
means. until you do. That's what I'm saying is like with the awareness, the level of responsibility goes with it, because you may, read something and not truly get the meaning out of it, but until you really understand it, you're gonna have a level of responsibility that goes with that understanding. That's why a lot of people, they can learn stuff about the movement or the Moorish history and whatnot, and then not necessarily connect to them because they don't feel the connection or
because
the responsibility to the information.
Or fear. Or fear is keeping them from.
I want to add to that.
So many things.
People love to live a life, So again, whenever people come into this truth, or people that are, outside of this truth, do they want their reality shooken up and all that? No, they're comfortable in their own state. You understand? So some people are discomfortable with the way it is. They don't want change.
No matter what you
say, they don't want to see it.
No matter what you say.
Let me ask so until you're affected by this system or whatever, then no, I got to fix something. That's how
and that's what a lot of times even Bro Kujo has said. We all know.
You said that's what I was thinking. Yeah. All the time I'm trying to speak. That's exactly what I want to say. What I'm trying to say is that the responsibility he's talking about comes with those two words, right?
Acceptance and effect.
Yeah, right? Because if they're not affected by it directly, then they're not gonna act. And like with our movement too, and me being, and a lot of us being here, seeing, there's been way more people who came in here with maybe they thought too that they're still gonna be here, and us too thinking that well, why not? Like you're here, you're part of family, you're gonna be here years upon years. But they came in here based on the fact that something happened to them that they needed like remedy for, exactly. And they came and they found it and they're still here. Or some of them, they wasn't even looking for it. It's just, this was just their path regardless. They didn't have to go through any woes to be here. Well, all of us have been through woes, but most of them are not even here anymore. But to all of our defenses, like most of us never came up in this knowledge. So there's a lot of programming and conditioning that's been going on. Why, when now you get exposed to the knowledge and you start knowing yourself, and now you have to start taking responsibility because it's power, right? And that's what it is. That's what Uncle Ben tells Spidey, right?
That's what he said.
Great power comes great responsibility, right? So that's what it is too. So when they realize, like the God said, they realize like shit, now I have to do stuff, right? It's like, give you an analogy, like let's say we're climbing a mountain and we're halfway up. But we just said we have the same amount to go up. We're not even halfway up, but we're like, yo, I've been climbing this mountain forever. And I still have to climb it. The climb is getting more steep and it's more rigid, and so they're either gonna want to climb all the way back down, or they're gonna stay where they are and say, I'm not even moving from here. I'm staying right here until somebody rescue me or something happens.
Somebody builds the elevator.
Yeah, right?
Levitate.
Like shit, I climbed up and now they look down. Yeah. They need to look down. Like they said, never look down, eh? Now they look down, they're like, blows on stuff. And I look up, I'm like, twice as much? I can still go? Yeah. I thought right here I could be good. I thought here I was complete.
Or like they say,
my remedy right here.
When the cat has his back against the wall, you either fold or you come out for fighting, right?
Fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think Friday's class, it was talk, like you said, not like with power comes great responsibility. It's like, what is power? And it's like knowledge is power. So once we come into it, like the brother was saying, the system and our responsibility as Moors. Once you realize the system's not working for you, just like going to the grocery store, like that's a system in itself, poisoning us for whatever reason. As an individual in our own world, what should we do? Keep going there to receive our food, or plant our own? One backyard at a time in everybody's world. Plant your own garden. Yeah, the government has it set up or the system has it set up where they will rip out those roots because it's against code or you don't have your whatever to plant. But keep planting. Keep planting those seeds, keep growing what you need to grow in your own backyard, it will spread.
You know, just to comment on that powerful statement to that. I hear people always saying, "Oh, you seek knowledge. What are you seeking knowledge from? The book? All you doing is reading." Knowledge is power. But you know, when I remember me reading the Quran and I hear the Prophet say, "Good is your power," I'm like, "Whoa, that's the power of the more. Knowledge is power, but good is our power." And then we know good ain't on our own terms and our own meanings. It's towards the will of the divine movement. It's like, okay, all right. It doesn't matter about what has to be done. It got to get done. And if I don't do it, then I know say that's woe unto me. So I got to do my part to make it happen, whatever the case may be. Not because I want good according to my understanding, but I just want to transfer my energy to be used by those that care about the loved ones and the generations and the things that is going to withstand, perpetually.
Islam. The only real sin is to be ignorant of the universal, timeless principles of existence. Such ignorance is the root of all evil and all misguided behavior. Eliminate ignorance through the art of peace, and even hell will be emptied of tortured souls. The only real sin is to be ignorant of the universal, timeless principles of existence. Such ignorance is the root of all evil and all misguided behavior. Eliminate ignorance through the art of peace, and even hell will be emptied of tortured souls. That was a good one.
My question to that is, what is hell? Because again, the brother mentioned we come from our own. We're now coming into this knowledge, and we were taught things before. From my teaching, hell is just your grave.
Yeah.
So, like, what is a more understanding of hell?
Well, for
like, will the dead walk amongst us, or like, what is hell?
It says you within.
Yeah, whatever the negative influences internalized for yourself. So the Burger King lover hell would be no Burger King, and all they have is vegan stuff. Vegan burgers. I mean, and that's just what it is for them. You know what I mean? The whoever else, whatever their vices. You know what I mean? The crackhead, no crack, that's hell for him. But it's all that individual's own aberrations that they think there's really something like that. Because I mean, like even when you go into things of tortured souls and whatever, like what do you mean if a soul is not in
the shelf of the body.
If it's within, then how is it tortured? You know what I mean? What do you mean, you got a mental block? What do you mean a block is a brick or whatever, and then the man, like what's really blocking you from not remembering what, you know what I mean? So as we go into ourselves more and more, you know what I mean? You always have different perspectives. There's always going to be change. There's always going to be growth. There's always going to be, oh yeah, I didn't know that, or I found out something. As soon as you say, you're in the halfway of the mountain and we're just going to chill right here because we're not going back all that way, and we're not even going to attempt to go wherever we're going, then, that might be your help. But through the art of peace, you realize that it's about acquiring light or knowledge so that you're not ignorant, which would take away all of the stresses and all of the things that we think are bad, negative. Those things won't exist once we're living in the realm of looking within and realizing that, as soon as we open the door, we get that breeze. Oh yeah, thank you, breeze. As soon as we drink some water, oh, thank you, water. looking at all the elements when they present themselves. You know, thank you stove for it. Oh, thank you electricity. Thank you for sun. You know, and you start realizing that okay, you know, when you have people who are even the new age stuff, yoga, meditation, and all those stuff. You know, supreme honors to those people because they're counteracting things on a different level that the people who don't do meditation and yoga and all that stuff, they're not even penetrating the type of, you know, work commitment where they are on their mountain. You know what I mean? Just from going through, you know, whatever their path is, however they decide to you know, come to the realization, you know, it's gonna take fully not being ignorant. Like, you know, like one of the Moors has his website, we'll put that out there, no more daily. Right? That's the hashtag.
Wow, that's powerful stuff.
Right?
No more daily.
No more daily.
Like N-O, no, like K-N-O.
Yeah.
Every day you know something,
Yeah.
learn something more.
No more daily.com. Right? MOOR, more.
Yeah.
No more daily.
Okay, see.
All right? Because the more you know, you realize you don't know anything, which should inspire you to know more. You know what I mean? Even though you know nothing. You know, it goes back to that physical and spiritual and the mental and the heart and this cycle that just keeps, everything just keeps bumping into each other. You know what I mean? Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and then you go talk to some people over there and they got it, but they might call it tranquility and, you know, some other terms, but it's all the same. It's all the same thing. You know what I mean? If we take some ants, watch them for a day, say, damn, you guys, you got a hard life. You know what I mean? I see, yeah, you can watermelon all the way down there or whatever like that. You know what I mean? But again, you know, they got the power to carry 800 times their body weight, so of course they're gonna carry a watermelon. And you know, of course, bird, you're gonna be able to see from way up there that thing running through the grass.
Coming to get it.
Come to get it. You know, right? Once you get rid of the ignorance, yeah.
The whole health thing.
Yeah.
Thing I saw, my brother also posted up. Well, it was, forget the monk's name, but it's just saying that what is anger? Right? And he says anger is a punishment we give ourselves for someone's supposed wrongdoing. Right? So that can be a form of hell.
Yeah.
We punish ourselves in so many different ways. So
I also want to add as well, like a lot of people, they are so worried about hell and the lake of fire, and I have to do this, I have to do that, so I don't go in the lake of fire. And their whole lifetime is that's their hell of worrying about going to hell.
Yeah.
and that become their whole hell because they're all stressed out about I have to do this right, I have to do this proper, moral this, moral that, you know, all this stuff, and they're all stressed out all the time. They have no peace, and their whole existence on this plane was a hell for them.
Yeah.
Because they never had no peace within themselves, and they're always angry, and they're always, you know, this, you know, whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know, but just saying. You know, for like, I mean, I know that the concept, as even as a child, the lake of fire, like it didn't even make sense to me as a child. Like, you know, it's just like, I remember I got in trouble for making fun of it. Like, yeah, I'm going to get my own, I'm going to have fire brigades and stuff. You know,
so you're the devil's son. The devil's child is here.
Your boss are coming from me.
Big fire. And like the brother, I forget his name, teaches the whole esoteric thing. And he said, like, when you start researching more and you find out that whole hell burning and all that to do with your lower chakra and the heat, right? Which is the fire chakra on your loins rising up.
Right.
So,
so there's always some kind of
lower self again. And close out with
got 2 more hours.
practice the art of peace sincerely and evil thoughts and deeds will naturally disappear. The only desire that should remain is the thirst for more and more training in the way. Practice the art of peace sincerely, and evil thoughts and deeds will naturally disappear. The only desire that should remain is the thirst for more and more training in the way.
You just touch on it. The more you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, and Drew Ali touching on, without a foe, a soldier wouldn't know his strength. So there should be constant battle. It shouldn't be, yeah, we're Moors, we got this. We don't have to do nothing because we got this. Nah, there better be some foes. There better be foes.
You learn how to recite what's the matter. Okay. Depending upon the effect that you're looking to get, the outcome, you can see, is it worth lowering my degree or raising my degree?
Mm-hmm.
All serves its purpose.
I mean, and a lot of times in the movement, we want to get certain things out of it, right? And everyone's remedy, and sometimes we don't get the exact remedy that we're looking for, or we think we don't get exactly what we're looking for, but realistically, like you said, even if it looks like a loss, there's some kind of victory in it. You just have to take from it or extract from it, that part that applies to you learning from it for the next time, right? And sometimes it's not always the big victory. It's not always at that moment. It could be later on down the line. Then that's when the victory comes, because then it wasn't at that time. It's time for it now to happen. Because if it happened at that time, then it probably would have missed it, or it probably would have not resonate.
Mm-hmm.
So in the movement, we have to realize that everything is not, sometimes it's right in your face, you can touch it, but sometimes it's not. It's like, it's a little bit further down the road. It's not a loss. It's just that, it's just your path, I guess, or your learning curve, right? So, Moors have to have a lot of patience, and, and the willingness to conquer the lower self, because I think that's probably the biggest fight for me anyways, is the lower self, is to, those bad habits, to try to conquer them and try to, I know where I need to go, but it's still a fight to get there, even though I know, right? It's still, because true, we're on the occupation, we can't have it planned like we want to, like, at this time I'll be doing this time I'll be doing that, everything's scheduled out perfectly, but because we still have to do, BS.
Amari knows. Yeah, Amari. You know what it means to have to go out here and grind with these damn people.
What you gotta do, man.
That's what Amari said.
Straight. All right, more. Peace and love. Have a safe travel, bro.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, Mark.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love, bro. Peace. Yeah. Any closing out questions or anything like that?
I would like for a brother in here to put something on the record that happened to them last week. Actually, this week. For the NAR.
Horrible.
No trouble.
Big release.
I know. Well, whoever.
I'm just a witness.
Witness wasn't there. The witness was there. That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea. It's like with my remember the story with my son when they kidnapped him.
Yeah.
And I went there and they kidnapped me too. And then remember when I went to the court there and I asked them they gave me a transcript, maybe 10 pages, and I told them, not transcript, the
disclosure, yeah.
And I told him I want the whole thing. That's not enough. So he set a date for me to go back. So when I went back, and I know this is why, because I asked that lady, who are you? Who are you, man? what's your nationality? Oh, I'm Canadian. I say, Canadian? Okay. Then I ask her, if somebody is in slavery, you get out, free and he's gone. And somebody catch him and try to put him back. What is that, man? What is that? Oh, I can't talk about that. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I said, okay. So I took my stuff and I leave. I never filed no paperwork.
Yeah.
I do nothing. They said she set a date too. She tried to bring me into, even though I got the date already for the 29th for trial. She tried to give me a date now for pre-trial. I said, what is pre-trial about? Oh, maybe we could settle it. They don't have to go to trial. Okay, put the date. When she did, I said, I want to change my mind. She said, no, you can't change it again. Okay, fine. So what if I don't come on that date? Oh, well, as long as you come at the trial date. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Now, I didn't go to the pre-trial. I never filed no paperwork. Zero. Not one pen writing I never gave them. So now I supposed to go to trial Thursday. 9 o'clock is court. 8 o'clock, my little one wake up, give me a high five, and he's gone to school. 9 o'clock, I'm still in my bed. About 9:37, my phone ring. Who calling me? Who is calling me? Court is calling me, asking me, are you coming to court today, sir? Are you coming? The judge is asking for you. Are you coming? I said, really? I said, what time is it, Mom? He said, your court was 9 o'clock and it's 9:30 something.
Anybody have hands up on court calling them for?
Special more, right? Special more.
I tell her, okay, I'm coming, but I'll be there about, what time? I said about 10:30. You get there, what time? Maybe 22.
Yeah, but
20 to 12, because just before the break and then it goes to lunch. So when we go there, nothing on the wall regards me, no name, no nothing on the wall, nothing. You ask him, no, you ain't get no word. But anyway, it goes to break, and then break come back, it goes to lunch now. So after lunch now, I realize, because the time when I asked her these questions, other people was in the court. And even my son was talking to a Sri Lankan guy that was discussing slavery with him. And I brought it up. And when she said what she said, my son said it out loud. Oh, see, slavery still exists in the court. Everybody hear it. So now, these are the things they don't want nobody to be there when I'm there. Make sure nobody, so they hold us down to the end. And when it's time now, and they call the name, I never hear somebody go to court and they call your name and it dismissed and you didn't get up yet. I didn't get up yet. Even when I get up, I still get up because it's like, what did I do? And I'm moving up. And my son and Michael said, you don't hear it, so over, where you going? It's over. It's like, what did you hear? It's over. And the what they say now, like you were saying, no, the witness is not there. No witness.
Yeah.
So that's their story.
Yeah, that's their. Yeah,
that's their getaway.
Their get out.
They get out. Yeah. The witness not.
Islam for that.
Beautiful story.
Anything else?
Well, I wanted
any updates?
Yeah, Matthias, I mentioned on Friday. We were working on a little script because he wasn't too comfortable with the science yet, So I told him it's go easy. He had video court on Tuesday. So I said you just prepare them and let them know who's coming and why you're coming, So he did all that at video court. So he said he's gonna be coming as the executor. Yeah. He made his status out and everything. And he'll be appointing the JP as trustee that day when he comes there. So they already knew. And then he went up, I think, the Thursday. The same script that we were working on. But this whole time, so from Sunday, whenever we worked out the script, he's supposed to come in like the Monday. So that we can, continue our work. But for some reason, I haven't been able to get a phone call from him all week. And I know that he wanted to go to court on Friday. So I was kind of worried that I know he probably would feel more comfortable if I was in the courtroom with him. But he said he did it. Yeah. So he started his status and everything. I appoint you as a trustee today. The JP can jump up like me, right? And then you say whatever, but I do some research yesterday, so I know that he didn't give them any directions, right? He's just putting his status on the record.
Yeah.
So I forget what he said, but the JP actually had to pull out the checkbook, and then the court guard said something about endorsement, and then he signed, and then they pulled him back into the like behind the box.
Yeah.
So he's trying to find out what's going on, but because he didn't have anybody on the outside, and he wasn't outside to know what actually
transpired or whatever. Yeah.
But he said that he feels a lot more comfortable now. You know, he's not scared of these people no more. You know? So
that's
good. That's good.
The other thing I want to look up though, but before we do that, I forget which brother wanted to speak. There's two terms I want the class to look up together. If we can.
Where's the Black's? Yeah, Black's law.
I have one. What's the Black's law?
What's the terms? Let's put them on.
So inferior court and district court. We're just going to look at basically the characteristics of it. But more that's supposed to be in a district court from whatever I found out yesterday. So whenever we file our research, most of the time whenever Morris, just like me, I made the mistake, we file, but we're not giving the courts any direction on what to do. It's just presenting this information, right? So there's a proclamation that we're also supposed to be filing, like in a newspaper or something like that, on record. Right? So I have to do that too, right?
Even using those public notice boards, or putting all over those, we're saying as a newspaper.
So
Facebook is a public notice as well.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be using all of those. Any public record that I can, leave anything for myself in the files. That's what I'm gonna be doing all this week. And then you have to file your I have the information, don't worry. I just want to go over these terms first, and then we'll come back to that.
They have a district court for tickets too.
So this is what I found out, because I'm like, okay, where's the district court in Brampton? So in traffic court, that is actually where the district court is. From whatever I found out, right?
Or any
for appeal, wherever they do the traffic courts, that is the district court.
Now, but remember, once it's under the province or the city, it's acting as a district court because there's no such thing as traffic court.
And another thing that you probably notice, okay, so when we go into like say the inferior courts, you have the metal detectors and all these other stuff, right? But when you go into the district court, which I'm trying to tell you, this is the district court, you don't have to go through all of that. It's like it's almost like it's set up for privates, almost. Like you're not being arbitrary. In comparison to the inferior court.
Criminal too?
All
inferior district.
I mean, people do criminal stuff at district court.
You can, like that's what I'm saying. Wars are not supposed to be in the inferior courts. It's supposed to be in the district courts. You have to file a writ, and that's the thing. They're not going to disclose that information, and they're not going to do it for you. You have to go ahead and do it on your own. You have to file the motion, so that to take it out of the inferior courts to move to the district court.
Yeah, I got a question. Because back in Articles of Confederation, when Canada was joined into the United States, at that time it was just Upper and Lower Canada. There wasn't all the other provinces that were joined. It was just those provinces. At that time, were there district courts that would have been recognized through the Constitution? Because again, there's like so much stuff that's going on where people the Canadian officials say that they don't recognize that as actually happening, or during like the revolution and all that stuff, that it was like disemboweled and whatnot, and they became the two separate entities or whatever. But to me, it's just like it's bullshit, because I know that when America went corporate, that's when Canada did their confederation thing as well.
Right.
But what I'm wondering is there any ports that are still tied to the United States jurisdiction that we can recognize or we can go to?
Like I don't see any from here.
No.
Because the whole thing with them doing their confederation was to have their independence, right? But it's the people who haven't held them to their obligations, why they're doing whatever it is they're doing. It's the people who didn't question, how did the BNA Act become a constitution? How's the act become a constitution? You know what I mean?
Carrying on.
Like how does that even, it's just like we were saying with the court, like they might be saying, it's like over at 395 University or 375 or whatever, where they say office of the sheriff. But when you go in there, it's a Metro Police highwayman in there. There's not a sheriff in there. So they're putting the front of, this is the office of the sheriff, but it's just an office. Like it's not a sheriff's office. It's an office of a sheriff.
That word again, of.
Right? Yeah.
But the sheriff is missing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had the sheriff missing.
Okay.
2 out of 3, and people not even trying to look up me to 3 out of 3.
Right. So and again, we go back to that thing, like especially with out here, that the jurisdiction of the quasi or the inferior courts have been used so frequently by people without any challenge that they have a form of credibility. And then that from when, if anybody knows, when they appeal stuff, they always send it back to the court. They don't even send it to a higher court. They send it back to the same people who you're appealing about why you shouldn't, whatever, right? So all those quote unquote courts are all under jurisdiction of Canada, which is a corporation. So don't get caught up in they could be doing stuff properly or right or whatever, because they're still under the corpse. Even if they're saying that we are supreme, well, they're of Canada. So you're really not supreme, really, if you're of Canada. You're supreme in the Canada jurisdiction, but outside the Canada jurisdiction, they don't really have that international power that they claim that they have.
But all right, see, when I was reading this document now, so I've been in court many times, and their most famous line is that, oh, well, we don't have jurisdiction over that thing, and then they start to act like I'm invisible, Yeah. So it's true in the sense that they can't do anything at that point, but I'm trying to free myself from the whole situation, But they're just trying to say that, okay, well, we can't speak to you on this matter then, basically.
Well, most of the time, again, they're going on with majority of people who are in court for something. They have something, contract, card, paper, whatever, with that old name. That's what they know.
No, but you see,
they're not even playing. So
me, from the conception of the arrest, they had their warrant or whatever. I've always stood on my square, on Michael Alvey. So even whenever I had to go up in front of the JP for the bail hearing and all that, they had to acknowledge me as that. But then the Crown, she's gonna be the slick one, or we don't have jurisdiction over that. And then you just try to act like I'm invisible at that point. Then have to be like, listen, I'm the ex-row, or I'm this, or I'm that. They're still going to be trying to act like they don't have jurisdiction, but I know that they can't really speak on that matter, right? They just can't go there.
No,
that's why with his, that's why it's just supposed to be. They just dismiss it and be done with it.
Because
if they don't dismiss it, it's because they know they have something. It's no different than if you look at quote unquote children's aid cases or whatever, right? Majority of that is track record of children's aid. Why they even know it or say that they have jurisdiction in certain situations. You know what I mean? Like, because remember that you're dealing with inferior courts. Regardless of what they say, they're inferior. So they're gonna take the position of this and push this as a reality before they even go to the original, because then they really have no jurisdiction at that point.
Who has the definition for inferior?
Oh yeah, where's that?
I'm gonna show you.
I got district.
Okay.
All right, get inferior.
Let's get inferior first.
Okay, inferior court. This term may denote any court subordinate to the chief appellate tribunal in the particular judicial system, but it is commonly used as the designation of a court of special, limited, or statutory jurisdiction, whose record must show the existence and attaching of jurisdiction.
Sorry, proof right there. So you see that point right there? That's what I'm trying to show you. They cannot prove, but they're still trying to hold this name on me. They cannot show that they've had jurisdiction from the conception even until now. And then I have 2 bail releases where they even altered the strong man's name to release me.
Yeah.
But they knew that they didn't have jurisdiction over me.
Yeah.
Right?
Remember, and remember again, this is what we're talking about before, that once they put their hand in the cookie jar and they try to take one out and you realize that they're doing that, they're not dropping the cookie.
He's still coming up.
They're taking their cookie. Regardless of what you say, regardless of whatever, they're getting their cookie. And their cookie is our time, our energy. That's why they keep, come to the pretrial. And then come to the trial. But you don't have to come to the pretrial, you can just don't miss the trial. So then why even do the pretrial? Because there's more energy that they're getting.
All that is
like this, that's what
you're saying there right there.
Because if I had this information, then I wouldn't be as
presumptive
with the district
presumptive.
Yeah, but it's still within an inferior court. Even if we follow that in the district courts. Out here, every court is this.
Out here. I'm still gonna investigate.
Right? Like, there's no legitimate court out here because this is not a country.
I'm not saying that's legitimate. I'm just saying that it's gonna be out of that jurisdiction into another jurisdiction, and then from that jurisdiction, they still don't have the jurisdiction.
They still don't have the jurisdiction.
But they might still be honorable in this court rather than the inferior court.
Like we said with Lonnery's thing, right? It was about it's really gonna come out to what judge you get, because that's the one that's making the decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If your position warrants him throwing the prosecutor under the bus because he doesn't want to be caught in whatever it is that they're trying to do, then he'll yield.
But is it a judge or a JP that's going to be in the district court? Because also I mean about the Article 3 judge or whatever.
Yeah.
So would it be the Canadian judge or the JP that would be in their district, the provincial court?
No, well, even when we say Article 3 judge, we're talking about Constitution.
Yeah, I know.
So
they don't exist here. So I'm not worried about like I said, they don't have the jurisdiction to hear the matter. But if it goes into that court and exists, because remember they're subordinate. That's number one.
Right.
Number two is that their jurisdiction is limited. It might be special. There's 3 jurisdictions that they might operate under. You never know whenever you go in there, right?
Right. They operate under whatever because they're inferior, because they're quasi, because they're colored.
Yeah.
They'll say district but mean traffic. They'll say child court but mean something else.
My knowledge, I know I'm not even dealing with a JP. I'm just dealing with the administrative clerk that only has administrative powers. So
right.
I'm dealing with them on that level.
Right.
So, right.
That's me. To wit on what you just said, and again, we received letters from these places, and one of the letters I wanted to bring up, this is something I got back in 2013. Feel me? Now, sent all the letters there, went there. I asked for the head prosecutor of the court. Asked for the head judge. I asked for all that information. The letter that I received back, again, I'm going to read the whole letter. I think I've sent it out to everyone already. But anyway, dear Shaham, Mario Bay, whatever, your letter enclosures dated June 26, 2013. I received your letter and enclosures sent registered mail to me at 5 Ray Lawson Boulevard, Repairs. The enclosures consisted of 4-part summons to defendant number, whatever, whole bunch of tickets, whatever. Which includes copies of notes made by Officer Ramirez and Officer Fico. I am returning them to you as my office does not deal with these matters. This is not one of our files. It appears to me that this is a file that is being dealt with by the Provincial Prosecutor's Office, part of the Crown Attorney's Office at the Glenville and Davis Courthouse at 7755 here on Terrace Street. For clarification, I am the manager of prosecutions for the city of Brampton, not the court administrator, nor part of the court operations, court support, or court's clerks. Basically what she's saying is that, what are you doing here? Right? I mean, in terms of the district court, in terms of the inferior court, it's not a court. That's the whole point that, we try to get across to everyone. They're not courts. Because at the end of the day, she's basically saying to me, well, I just work for the city of Brampton.
I'm just trying to get paid.
I just work for the city of Brampton. So it's like, you're more. What are you doing? You don't, just get out of here. Leave us alone. Let's go after these Negroes, so to speak. So it's not a matter that a district court and inferior court don't exist. It's just a matter that it doesn't exist in Canada. It doesn't. It does not exist in Canada. They're all about fiat. Because again, I called there. And when I went there, I asked for this particular person. I'm putting on her blast. Jean Gillespie. Who gives a shit? I asked, I said, who is the head of prosecution? Who's the head administrator? Who's the head clerk? And they gave me this particular person's name. I went and I met with her. And I haven't spoken to her in a long time, but when we went together and I stood there and I spoke to her and I asked the question, I have it on tape. When I was walking away, she said to me, she said, were you recording this conversation? I said, why? Are you scared? And I just kept walking. So I sent off documentations and I got this letter back. I think I've sent it to everyone already. Basically, it's not a courthouse, it's an administrative building. It doesn't matter which building we go to, it's an administrative building, it's not a courthouse. Simple as that. If it says district court on there, it's an administrative building.
But that being said, they administrate for us, right?
Well, yeah, so we go there with administrative issues. They can't handle national issues. They can't. They just can't. The Supreme Court of Canada can't do it either. Our issues that we have with them when we spoke on the term issue, it says in regards to writs. They can't handle writs.
So even if we issue something to them, they can't move on?
They can't.
Because remember, the thing that it's always about us protecting ourselves.
Yes.
It's always about us. Like when we say, send writs and all that stuff. Yeah. That's for our personal self to have our paper trail.
Because what I did,
they can do whatever they want to do, but at least we know we sent something, we do whatever, or in certain cases, I never sent anything, and I'm not even. You guys can do whatever. I'm not even coming if you guys say I'm coming here.
Where it start from is the first time I went here, I put it, laid out who I am, threat, corrosion, all these things, tell them why I'm here, and I'm in fear of my life. End of story.
That's it.
So from there on, they know who is coming.
Yeah. Right. So the fact of the matter is, this is something that, again, first coming into the information, when you put on that paper, notice the agent is notice the principal is notice the agent.
Once you give it to a Canadian agency, all of them have to know it now. Doesn't, like, again, it's the corporation, and they have those sub corporations and the sub of the sub whatever. You just give it to the top, everybody has to know. Give it to the bottom, top has to know, because you have to tell the boss about it. So in terms of when we go to court or the building, whatever, you know, how we do it, when we do it, I tell you, man, like, we were going hard on these guys. We were like shutting down court. It's like, yeah, we win, yeah. But then it's like, wait a second, I miss work, you know, I miss fiat today. It's like to be here. And it dawns on you, it's like, wait a second, like, I'm still dealing with this issue, and I'm like, what? Like, how come they haven't put me in the cell yet? You know, how come they haven't, like, some of us, we got taken away and taken to the madhouse, but, you know, it's like, what? You know what I'm saying? So the mindset that we have to navigate with is that, what am I going here for? That's what I was telling Nora on Friday when we had a little discussion there. I had a choice to make. Do I still stay up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning studying, or do I come and help the nation? So the choice was just go there, plead guilty, and just bounce. Because that's all they need. It's checkbook. It's like, okay, is he gonna discharge today? That's all they care about. We've seen the paperwork on how they do the checking and stuff. It's all accounting.
The books has to balance at the end of the
Books has to balance at the end of the day.
If I didn't go there, it could close. So they're begging me, are you coming? Never heard of this, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Very beautiful advice too. Like, are you coming today? I know it's 9 o'clock now when you're going to miss court and there's going to be warrant for you if you don't come. No, nothing like that. Are you coming today?
Yeah. They're asking you.
Yeah.
Like, this is how they have to deal with us. It's like, okay, you know what? These board, like, we have no jurisdiction over them more. They're not niggers, they're not black, they're not colored. Like, at least ask them, you know. Give them the courtesy of a question. Are you coming? Or can you come? Or again, I have never heard that before.
Never.
Usually they wouldn't call you this put out a warrant.
Yeah. They're calling for? Call for what? Like, what do you mean they're calling?
Call me. That's what I'm saying. Like,
after court started, not before. After they're calling. After, right?
No, this is special privilege.
But then that's the thing with the whole thing with the color. That they're gonna do that. They should be doing that with everybody.
Yeah.
But nah, they won't do that. They'll railroad you. They'll send him letters. Just letters piling up to the ceiling, right? They'll take somebody else's fiat. They'll throw somebody else in jail. They'll kidnap people. They'll whatever. Or they'll yield and not like.
It's colored.
You know what I mean? It's only because and that's only because of our activity.
This is
messing up the whole stuff that they had running. Like their stuff was running smooth. People just come in there, pay, bam, no questions asked, everything's right, no issues. Now they gotta bring the prosecutor outside, ask everybody, what do you plead, take names down. They gotta do all these things that they weren't doing, and it's just what it is. Like,
think now,
yeah, they have to think now. They have to actually do some work. You know, they're not just sitting down and getting their $50,000 a year now.
But you know
what I mean?
From my experience, because I got a ticket a while ago, and I went to the pre-trial, and I wasn't sure. Like, I felt confident. Like, thankfully, I think I've been here 3 classes, and I felt a little bit more comfortable just in being myself.
Yeah.
So I went in, and they had like 2 courts set up, and one court actually had my name on the board, and I said, okay, this is strange. So I went in, I sat down, and when they called Danielle, I went up, and I'm just like, okay, well, can you state your name for the court record. I said, well, the name in question, is on this document, is Danielle Jersey. And then the prosecutor, which a Moorish brother or a man of color, he rolled his eyes and was I'm like, what is I looked and she said, excuse me, well, can you spell it for us, please, for the record? I said, well, the name on the document. Oh my God, the black guy was going insane. And I wanted to ask him if he was okay, because I'm like, if we're in a court and you're supposed to stand and rise for the like, you should have some kind of decorum about you.
That's how you know it's quasi.
It was
insane. So you know it's colored.
Because sorry to cut your knowledge. I mean, think about this, Morris. And again, before you came into the information, how did we know to walk in there, go up, they call the name, say the name, then we move to the side, like, oh, we know it's to sit down, oh, we have to stand up now. Like, how did we know how to do that? By following all the people that is in there. Because for the people that, I remember the first time I walked in there, the first thing I did is like, okay, what's everybody doing? Like, Judge, stand up. And okay, sit down. Walk up and sit down and come. Okay, $50. Then next person go up and I said, okay, it's my turn. So I'm shaking. I get to go. So I go up. Sure. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. How do you plead? Well, guilty. Okay, $30. And I sit down and I saw some next person go up. The next person. Then I remember the next time I went, and this was for the insurance, and then you hire a lawyer for something big. So that's what I did. Yeah. I get there, and the lawyer is talking to the guy that is charging me, and they're like laughing and shit. You should be talking to me. Fix my case. So I'm like, I said, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. So then I get in there, and the lawyer that I had, he's like still talking and laughing at this guy, and they said, okay, how do you plead? Well, we'll plead guilty. I said, what? I said, wait a second, no, I wanna come and talk to the judge. So it comes up, they give me the Bible, and they said, do you swear to tell the truth? And then I go up there and I'm talking, and I kind of messed up, because again, I was nervous, So I'm expecting my guy to come and say no, objection or whatever. You watch this on TV, right? This is where I got shit from. So I'm up there and I'm like burying myself, and this guy's just still there chilling with the guy that's flipping charging me. Yeah, I get outside and said, so what's up? He's like, well, what you could do is, you could plead, or you could appeal it, and then I said, yeah, but where were we going to strategize on what to do? And while I'm talking to the guy that's charging me, he's like, yo, are you going to come afternoon? And they're talking with each other.
Yeah, while you're right there.
And I'm standing there stunned. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a matter, again, that this is taught in school anyway, right? No. It's a matter of you seeing it, you thinking about it. They put these court shows on TV for a damn reason. For you to think, okay, that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what we're supposed to, like when we go up there, we talk with her. Because 99.9999% of the people that walk through there do the same damn thing.
Not only that, I go to court and I see the brothers bowing to the judge.
Yeah.
Bro, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know.
That ain't cool, man. Why you down for?
I was like, yo, man. And again, in regards to knowing higher self, if that doesn't click and say something is wrong here, man, like something is wrong, then you're never gonna get it, man.
My mom went to court once.
Never gonna get it.
It's for my brother though. My mom never went to court for me, because she cared about my little brother more, But anyways, whenever she went there, and my mom, she's very religious, she's Christian, So she went there, and she came back, she's like, what was all this bowing and like, yeah, mom, you don't know what you went into.
Didn't know you had a new God for a couple hours.
Learn experience.
Yep.
And then and then the cop after they said, "Oh well, this is not your court room. We're not holding you in here." And I said, "Okay." So I walked out, and then a police officer or a peace officer or whatever, man in uniform, followed me and was trying to have small talk with me, and I was like, "What are you like trying to like CIA me right now?" And he's like, "Oh, so what are you here for?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know why any of us are here." I'm like, "This makes no sense." I'm like, "I don't even know why you're here." And he was like looking at me all peculiar and stuff, and I'm just like, "Well, you have a nice day." But he was trying to still talk to me, and I don't know. I find it's very strange how many times we're pulled into their system and we're just trying to live free.
Yeah.
We're just trying to live our lives, but for some reason we broke some cardinal rule of theirs, and all of us good people are in this room have been pulled over for a ticket, have been pulled over for crossing the road. Like it's
you know what I see when we were in court? This,
yeah. Then I got released, no ticket, nothing. So what was the point of handcuffing me, putting me in the back of the down just to release me?
The energy.
When we were in the court, I see, because this my thing wasn't just traffic. My thing was criminal.
I remember that caught me
obstructing justice.
Tell your friends.
I get to see.
You obstruct the police officer?
This is not traffic I went for. No, because I get to see other criminal law where guys in shooting, involved in shooting, and guys involved, they find him with bullets and cocaine and weed. And I see this more, they find him with cocaine and weed before and gunshots, he do time and he come back. And you find him out, he did time and he come back, and now they have him again. For 4 years, they're gonna give him now 4.5 years. And you have a lawyer, European lawyer. They're taking care of his affair, and he's sitting there behind the whatever and the box, and they read him everything, and he agrees to whatever. And I said, man, if this little man didn't know that he's a Moor, I don't think he'd either find his way out of here. And I'm wondering if he's watching us, and when you go to jail, go find out what those people are wearing. Who are they? Because after that now, when they sentence him, then I see this European, his kid, because they call him kid, walked in with his parents. I'm their lawyer, and they come up and they say whatever, and then they said, okay, 12 months probation, and that was it.
Shooting in bond.
This man involved in shooting. This man don't even, the Moors don't even have a gun, he only have a bullet. And a kid, don't have a gun. But they're gonna didn't use a gun. And he gone for 4 years. And this boy involved in shooting.
No, the charge was state.
His charge was state.
It's basically withdrawn, but if he stays out of trouble for 12 months, then they're gonna wipe it out.
Clean slate.
And a shooting.
Status.
Classic example of racism.
Free white person.
Status.
But that's what they would. That's what the black people will say. Right?
What I know is just because you don't know.
But when they go inside, when I was in, there were some of them that already heard. So when I would sit by myself, and some like, yo, why is this guy like? See, you're different. They'll come talk to me, and I'm like, they're like, what are you in here for? I'm like, I don't even know why I'm here, right? And then some of them been there how long? So they talk to the CEOs, and they're like, oh, we don't know. Think it's child support. They don't know why, right? So after a while, I started talking to them. Like, yeah, I heard that stuff. That's real. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm getting out of here. Why do you think nobody knows why I'm here? Right? And then you start talking, but they don't really.
Yeah, they always say that's real.
But they know.
You think I'm taking a risk for that?
So when they saw your fez and all that, when the black guy saw your fez, he knows what's going on.
They know something.
Because I keep looking at him and I said, man, I feel for you, bro. 4.5 years, only the bullet, not a gun. The European with the gun involving shooting, they said to it in Vaughan, involving shooting in Vaughan.
State trying.
When I hear state, I said, see,
that doesn't do it. That doesn't do it.
Yeah, but all that triggers off is racism. You're racist, man. Imagine you're racist, and that's
always.
Just didn't claim your status.
No. It could be racism because you know what? To be black, you're out of the human race, so that's the problem. You're gonna get back to the race. Then
you gotta get back to it.
Get back into the race. You're out of the race.
Next week Saturday, there's this spoken word poetry something event over at the reference library. So we signed up to have a little table or whatever. So we'll be over there doing our vending thing. Yeah. Probably just doing nothing crazy. Just probably doing papers, newspapers, flyers, stuff like that. And then the 21st, the city of Toronto is doing their yearly community cleanup, whatever like that. So we put the temple in. So we're just waiting to get a reply from them for where we can go to go get our garbage bags and whatever else stuff like that. That's gonna be on the 21st, 12
April.
Yeah, 21st of April. Yeah, 12 to 2. And we also want to do a community meeting ourselves, community barbecue or whatever like that. Have 5 principals do some catering and all that for after we're done our cleanup, so we could get some food going on. You already know how we do. Right,
brother. Omar,
yeah. Oh yeah, no, I know Omar said Islam. Sorry you couldn't make it today, but he got caught up. So he said Islam to everybody. You got any other stuff, Omar?
No, just Friday's class starts at 7:30 until
Fridays.
Coming up this Friday is class number 2, so coming through.
Well, we reset? Is it like 4 or 5 now?
4 and then
4.
okay.
Oh, reset.
Yeah, 4 and then starting.
Thank you. You should.
I think so.
I'll double check. Enjoy.
Man is so small. He just said no. No.
Mine is so free. He's talking quiet.
All right, boys. So let's just close out.
Right.
Thank you for everybody being here today. Islam to all the Moors in the chat and the Moors online. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, Father of the universe. Father of love. Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night and by day. Through his holy prophet. Noble Juali. Amen Ra. Islam.
No, I was telling you, read it, man. No, it's ridiculous.
I know. I forgot to go back there too.
Judgment.
Michael.
Michael?
Yeah, same diff. He caught an ego. He caught an ego yesterday.